Hey guys! Today we're going to be doing an unexpected video on trying to conceive, or TTC as some people know it. Just some tips and tricks and a little knowledge about how your body works. Just a quick warning, we are going to be talking about some really fun stuff, like TMI type of stuff. If you didn't mean to click on this video, this would be the time to click out. But if you are here to gain some new knowledge, get ready, because I'm here to be really real with you. Real fast, I want to apologize. I know everyone, I've been saying that I was going to do a nursing, how I discreetly nurse in public video today. I'm postponing that for right now. I'll probably do that next week. I'll let you know on Tuesday next Tuesday what my official plan is for that. The problem is, with my hurt ankle, getting everything positioned for this video and then having to gather up all of my nursing outfits, or different types of nursing outfits, my bobby pillows, all of that was proving to be really difficult for me. So just grabbing all the stuff I needed to show you how I track ovulation seemed a lot easier, and I just decided to do this video instead. So I apologize. I promise I will do the how to discreetly nurse in public video. Probably next week. I will just, I'll plan ahead and have everything in here waiting ahead of time. But I just wanted something where I could just sit down, grab just a few items here and just show you, do something really simple today for me where I could just, it's really hard to take care of a baby and your house and everything when you have a foot injury. I'm sorry that I'm still in my pajamas and my makeup looks about as sloppy as my outfit does. As much as I'd love to look professional for you guys in every video, it's not working for me this week. Any other injured mommies out there? I feel ya. You feel me? Alright, so before we get started, I just want to give a quick overview on how the female reproductive system works, just because you have to have a little bit of knowledge on that before you can move forward. If you already have a very good idea on how all that works, then I'll be posting timestamps in the description below, so you can click on those and skip to a part in the video that's more what you're trying to get to. First off, the average female cycle takes 28 days. For some women it's shorter and for some women it's longer, and it's totally dependent on the woman, and it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with your level of fertility or whether you are capable of getting pregnant or not. That's just the ideal cycle. The day that your period starts is day 1, and then up through to day 14 is when you would ovulate if you were having a perfect cycle. And then 14 days from then would be when you would test to see if you're pregnant, otherwise your period starts again. For me, I'd say that I have had 26 to 32 day cycles on average. I've known some women who have more like 48 day cycles, and yet they have 5 kids and they're perfectly healthy. So don't take that as a sign that you're less fertile than one woman or the other. It just, your body operates differently, as with anything. If it is of any concern to you, of course talk to your doctor. The next thing you need to know is that you can ovulate at any point in your cycle, whenever your body decides to spit out that egg. Your body has a rise in estrogen, and the estrogen is speaking to your brain and telling it, hey, it's getting time, we need to mature this egg in this ovary. And it matures that egg, and then whenever you have that LH surge, which again has to do with your hormones talking to your brain and to your uterus and da-da-da-da-da. LH is short for luteinizing hormone. That is when the egg is released from the fallopian tube. That's the signal. That's the okay, go. And within the next 48 hours of that luteinizing hormone spitting out into your system is when that egg could be spit out, picked up by your ovary, and then fertilized. The egg, though, even though there's a 48-hour window in which you should definitely be doing the deed if you're trying to get pregnant, the egg itself is only open to fertilization for 24 hours. For this reason, it's actually a pretty good idea to have sex before you ovulate, before you see that LH surge, because that way, if your cervix has opened up, sperm can go on through there and be sitting in the fallopian tube and waiting for the ovary to spit out that egg and fertilize it immediately. But as I was saying before, that surge of LH can happen anywhere in your cycle, so it is completely possible for you to get pregnant if you have sex unprotected while on your period, or as late as only a few days before your period is supposed to start. Also, if you have sex while on your period or at any point in your cycle, sperm can live up to 5 or 7 days in your body. If you have sex 5 days before you think you're gonna ovulate and you're like, not gonna get pregnant, you could be wrong, because they could still be alive and swimming towards your fallopian tube, or just sitting there and waiting for you to release that egg 5 days later. I think it even could go to 7 days. Yeah. Now, after you've ovulated, the egg will travel down your fallopian tube, whether it's been fertilized or not, and then enter the uterus. During that phase, if the egg has been fertilized, it'll start separating and the cells will start multiplying, and that's the beginning of your baby. And then when it reaches the uterus, it'll burrow itself into your uterine lining and signal to your body, we have a fertilized egg, and then your body will continue to make progesterone and you will not shed the lining of your uterus, also known as your period. If that egg is not fertilized, it'll start to disintegrate before it's even really reached the uterus, and then when it does, obviously it doesn't burrow, so your body's like, oh, no baby, and it will drop its levels of progesterone, and when that drops, so does your uterine lining. Right out there. Flush it out. Start over again. So there's a lot going on in that 28-ish days of your cycle, and that's only the tip of the iceberg, but it should be enough for you to track along with me in the next part here. I'm going to talk to you about what methods I used to know when I ovulated. TTC method number 1. This one's free, but it's kind of gross. Mucus tracking. CM is short for cervical mucus. So you've got mucus in your nose, and all up in here, and you've got mucus in your vagina. And that's the one you're tracking when you're trying to conceive. So all you gotta do with this method is decide how you're gonna track your cervical mucus. Some women just track it in their underwear. By looking at their underwear, by touching their underwear. That sticky stuff that you can stretch between your fingers and you get this string here is also known as egg white cervical mucus, or EWCM. That is your most fertile cervical mucus. When you have that stuff going on in your panties, that's when you know that your body is either preparing or very much prepared to do that deed and have that baby. Your CM might start out as kind of watery or school glue-ish like, and if you try to stretch it in between your fingers, you might only get to that far before it breaks. Then throughout the month, you'll get to it kind of feeling more watery to where it literally looks like egg whites. When it's at its peak point, that's when it's the stretchiest it gets. Some women will never get to the point where they can stretch it that far because they're dehydrated or any other number of things. If you find that at the peak of your fertility you can still only stretch it that far, just try drinking some more water. Drinking green tea in the days leading up to your ovulation can help to thin that out. Some women drink cough syrup to make it stringier, but just keep in mind that the stringier it is, the more likely you are to conceive, because sperm can travel through that very nicely when it's at that stretchy, nice consistency. TTC method number 2. In this method, you will really have to get to know your body. You have to reach up inside your vagina and reach for your cervix. Now, if you don't know what your cervix feels like, this will be fun. Once again, you have to reach up there, feel around, get to know what's up down there. So, once you have located your cervix, and a little hint, it might feel kind of like a donut, or if you do this with your fingers, it might kind of feel like this part of your hand with a small opening. Now, during the very beginning and very end of your cycle, the cervix is generally hard and tightly closed. Hard like the tip of your nose. It's got this firm, cartilagey almost feeling to it. And once again, tightly closed and usually very low. Probably the easiest for you to feel is right there at the beginning or end of your cycle. When you are at your most fertile, your cervix is pulled back, and it's probably at that point where it's hardest because it's so far back you can probably barely touch it. It's very soft. It goes from the tip of your nose type of feeling to maybe the top of your chin, and then at its softest, it's like your lip. Very soft. And you can also feel that it's open. I've never had my cervix, other than, when I was in labor, I've never, while ovulating, had my cervix open up to the point where I could stick my finger inside of it, but generally to where I could get like the very tip of my finger like right in there. You can feel the difference if you've been tracking your cervix for long enough. And so it might take a month or two for you to get used to, but eventually you'll know your cervix well enough to where you probably don't even have to actually track it every day. Just when you see your CM getting that egg white consistency, you reach up and you're like, yeah, it's soft, it's beginning to open. It's almost baby making time. TTC method number 3 is probably a favorite among most women, I would imagine, because it only involves peeing on a stick or peeing in a cup and dipping a stick into it. Now, I'm gonna show you which ovulation tests I use. I've gone through several different kinds and I've realized that there are some major pros and cons. At this current point in time, these are my favorite. I know there are many different kinds like this, but these are just the simple little sticks in this kit. The Answer Ovulation Test Daily Tracker also comes with one pregnancy test in the box. Also comes with this handy dandy little thing to carry your tests in. Also comes with instructions and a pee cup. I will post a link for this down below. I just get them at Walmart and they're fairly inexpensive, around 10 bucks. I'm not entirely sure how well you can see that, but you just dip this end into your urine in the pee cup. And then right here in this window is where you would get the test results. They come with 20 ovulation tests and 1 pregnancy test as a bonus. I like that they come with 20 because at this point in my cycle, I have a very unpredictable cycle since I do not yet have a period. I only had Damien 4 months ago and I breastfeed. But around the time that Damien turns 8 months, we've decided we will seriously start trying to conceive again because we want to have our first 2 kind of close together. So I do know I am ovulating. I went ahead and I did the tests for 1 month. I just don't have a period yet, so I'm not sure, what my body's all whacked out and doing, but tons of hormones. And I'm not too uptight about it yet because we're not seriously trying to conceive yet. But having the 20 sticks is nice since I didn't have a period to go off of for guest time, which most other ovulation tests require you to have. I also like with these sticks that unlike a pregnancy test where if there is a second line, it means you're pregnant, but if it's so light, you're sitting there doubting it. With these, it's very simple. There's the test line and the control line. The test line will always be there, but it doesn't mean you are ovulating or having your LH surge unless the test line is as dark or darker than the control line, and I've never had a problem with understanding that. Another brand that I tried but didn't really enjoy were these one-step ovulation tests, Up and Up brand from Target. Honestly, I found them to be kind of a pain. I mean, they work pretty much exactly the same way, but they only come with 7, and they're kind of super picky about how long you hold them in the urine and how far the test strip goes into the urine. Like, I don't know, I felt like they were touchy. They didn't actually work very well for me, but they are cheaper, so I don't know. If you have a predictable period and that all you need are the 7 tests, then they work just fine. I'm not trying to diss on them. I'm just saying that I didn't prefer them. Another brand I tried were these clear blue ovulation tests. They're supposed to give you your 4 days of fertility. You have low fertility, and then a flashing smiley face means high fertility, and a solid smiley face means peak fertility. It comes with 10 tests, and it says it's the #1 OBGYN recommended brand. But honestly, I was not thrilled. I have a friend who actually used these also, and she wasn't thrilled either. The reason being that you have in here this digital reader. Don't know if you can see that. And you pop the stick right there in the opening and you pee on it, and then it gives you your result after like 5 to 7 minutes. Took longer than any other test I've ever known. And then you hit the eject button and you do that again the next day. The problem with the reader is that it thinks it's smart. I'm gonna try and explain this the best way I can. If you test on day 10 of your cycle, and remember, a perfect cycle you would ovulate on day 14. So let's say you test on day 10. So then that is your baseline read, and the digital reader knows that. It'll go off of that first day you test. So no matter what, even if you test on day 14 when you ovulate, the test will read low. It will take your test that you take that day, even if you're ovulating, and use it as your baseline. And so if you use it on day 10, then it might work just fine, because then day 10 as a baseline, then days 11, 12, 13 as you're building, it'll finally tell you when you've reached high fertility. High, by the way, isn't the test detecting an early bit of LH in your system. That's the test tracking estrogen in your system. And your estrogen is always rising in the first part of your cycle until day 14. So in other words, if you test on day 7, let's say, and you're not going to ovulate till day 14, for that next 7 days, if your estrogen rises at all in any kind of exponential way, your test, your digital reader, will say that you're at high fertility for the next 7 days until you reach that peak fertility. That's what it did for me. And remember, this test only works if you know when you usually ovulate, so you know what day to start testing on. If you don't know what day to start testing on, like I did, and you just kind of go with one day and go, let's see what my hormones are looking like right now, then you might test way too early, and then that's your baseline. So your test then, that high fertility, just means that your estrogen is raising. It doesn't actually mean you're a day or 2 days away from your LH surge. So I found that to be kind of annoying. Also, my friend used it and she just got a dud reader. No matter what, it always said low fertility, no matter what she did with it. Even I tried using it to see if it was just a reader, and it read low for me also. So I have a problem with the readers, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And with the answer ovulation tests, the first ones I showed you, it doesn't matter what time of the month I decide to stick one of these in my urine cup, it will give me 2 lines, and I know I'm ovulating if the test line is as darker than the control line. So again, that's just personal preference. I'm gonna be right back. I have to tend to Damien. Either way, just to end this part on ovulation tests, the tests are nice no matter which ones you use, as long as they work for you and they're accurate. They're nice because they tell you, based on your hormones, which days you are ovulating. And if you know those 2 peak days, that's really nice. TTC method number 4, basal body temperature, or BBT. Now, this is one of those things where you have to be dedicated to use this method, because you have to pretty much try to go to bed at the same time every night, have a consistent schedule, and the next morning at the same time every morning, or at least as close to the same time as possible, take your temperature and record it every day. So it can be really difficult. And then if you have a day where you stay up really late with friends, or if you're kind of sick so you have a little bit of a fever, or if you didn't sleep as well, if you had to get up in the middle of the night, if it's really hot outside and for some reason you didn't switch the AC on, any number of things can affect it. Basal body temperature kind of speaks for itself. It's your base temperature, and that's what you're recording. So yeah, same time every morning. Try to keep everything pretty much the same. You cannot use just any regular thermometer for this. You have to use a basal body temperature, but I've never had a hard time finding them. They're at Walmart, they're at Walgreens, they're online. I can put a link to this exact one in the description below, but I wouldn't say that this exact BBT thermometer is fantastic. It's just a thermometer. So I'd say my average temperature is 96.4 in the 40s region. That might be my average. And then yeah. Okay. What was I saying? Yeah. I would say that my average temperature is 96 point something in the 40s range. Right before I ovulate, I always have a different temperature that goes down to 96 point something in the teens-ish normally. And then after you ovulate, your temperature spikes. And for me, that normally means 96.70s or 8. Now, the thing about the basal body temperature is that it tells you when you have for sure ovulated. Now, not every woman gets that dip right before she ovulates, so the basal body temperature isn't great for predicting ovulation or knowing when it's about to happen, because it's not always reliable in that sense, not even for me. I usually get that dip, not every month. Now, the nice thing about the BBT for thermometer, though, is that after you've ovulated, it for sure has that spike. And then it'll normally stay up there spiked for a little while, and then it'll begin to decrease when it nears your period time. One quick little tidbit is that estrogen cools your body temperature while progesterone raises it. Estrogen, like I said, is kind of what summons that luteinizing hormone, which is why some women get that dip before ovulating. Progesterone prepares your body for the baby, and if you're pregnant, progesterone stays and continues to do that. Whereas if there's no fertilized egg, the progesterone will fall back down and your temperature will cool back down again, which is why you can sometimes use basal body temperature to early predict pregnancy. If your temperature stays high, you know, with your progesterone levels, it stays high and keeps climbing, then it could mean you're pregnant, because that means that your body is still producing everything, all the hormones needed to keep that lining in your uterus, continue building it, and it will continue to do that through your pregnancy. Whereas if it begins to decrease, it probably means your period is coming. So that pretty much sums up the 4 different methods I use to find out when I'm ovulating. Now, the reason I like to use all of these methods at the same time instead of just choosing one is that by tracking my cervical mucus and my cervix, I know when ovulation is coming up. I know when it's, you know, drawing close to that time, because long before I have an LH surge or a basal body temperature spike, my cervix starts pulling back and getting softer, and my panties start getting that egg white crap in them. So I know when it's coming, and it prepares me, oh, I'm probably going to ovulate sometime this week. The test strips are nice because they tell you when you are in your peak 2 days of ovulation, and then the basal body temperature is nice because it confirms that you ovulated. And that can be used as kind of a little sneak peek, kind of a hint of whether or not you might be pregnant. So I like to use all 4 of these methods when trying seriously to conceive. Anyways, that pretty much wraps up all of my tips on how to track your ovulation. This is actually part 1 of I'll have a part 2 coming out in the future at some point on how to prepare your body for conceiving. Since today was just figuring out when you ovulate and, you know, such like that, I will be doing a video on things to avoid while trying to conceive, things not to avoid, your prenatals, things like that. How to keep your mind and body prepared for conceiving. For instance, stress can seriously lower your chances of conceiving. And so I wanted to do a video on things that could be hurting your chances and things that could definitely improve your chances. But putting that together with this video would have made for one really long movie. So I'll be doing a part 2, if not possibly even a part 3 in the future. On this video though, take a chance, write in the comments and let me know what you thought and how I can improve, and if there was anything that I left out so that I can address those in the next video, or just get better as I go along, guys. That's all I'm trying to do, is get better and better as I do this. And this YouTube thing is still pretty new at this point in time for me. So any suggestions, anything like that, it's all very much appreciated. I hope this was helpful. Join me for part 2 of this video. Whenever that comes out, I'll be putting a link in the description below to that video when it happens. I promise it'll happen within the next month. But I would like to definitely get that how to discreetly breastfeed in public video out of the way, since I promised that already. And so I'll probably do that one next week, and then part 2 of this, how trying to conceive series, the week after that. So again, educational videos on Thursdays and vlog-like rants and such on Tuesdays. Like I said, everything's much harder with my ankle being sprained and it's like owie. Anyways, so hang in there with me. I cannot tell you guys how much I appreciate all the support I've been getting, and I really just love you guys, and I love to hear from you in the comments. So like, subscribe, comment, and share. See you guys. Mwah. Why you been fussy? fault, Mom. Honestly, it's because he irps up on all of them. So I take off the outfit and I make sure it's nice and warm in the house. And then I just let him enjoy his nakedness for a couple hours before I redress him in something else. Hi! And then that always seems to be when I do a video, so in case you're all wondering why my son is naked in every one of my videos, that's why. Owie! Owie! He's in that grabby stage now, where he likes to just grab my hair, my face, my boob. Hi! Hi! Oh, he's getting hungry. I can tell because if I put my face up to his, he tries to eat my cheek. Watch. Yep. Alright guys, I'll see you next week. Thanks for having patience with me. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.